Many times I have been asked in my life to list my strengths and list my weaknesses. And as I pondered that, I always found myself focusing on one or the other. I could either list a lot of strengths and no weaknesses, or I could list a lot of weaknesses and I couldn't see any strengths at that particular time. And you know what scripture tells us is those are normal things, but we think it's about getting more strengths and getting rid of our weaknesses. And God says that's not it. Paul had been praying because there was this thing that was bugging him and he just wanted it over with. And he prayed for other things and God answered him and gave it to him. So he goes to God and he goes, God, I kept asking you this. How come you don't fix my problem? And you know what happens in Corinthians? It tells us in chapter 12, verse 9, that God answers him. Sometimes we think God doesn't answer our prayers. Sometimes he just answers it in something we don't want to hear. Here's what God said to Paul. He said, my grace is made sufficient for you, and my power in you is made perfect in weakness. What? How can that possibly be? I thought you wanted me to be strong in the Lord. Well, we do want you to be strong in the Lord, but that's not how you do it, is by building up your own strength. I can go to the gym every day and get really strong, and it won't make me a better Christian. It might make me a better human being. It might make me healthier, but it wouldn't make me a better Christian. Here's what God says. God says, in the middle of that, I am here with you, and your dependence on me, that's where your strength is really going to come from. Paul got this, and he's trying to share it with us. In this book to Corinthians, he's saying, you need to find out what this is really about. What this is really about is not God giving you the answer that you want. It's about God giving you this strength that you don't know you have. Instead of trying to be strong enough to get through it, tell God you're weak. Admit your weakness. That is your strength, because that's when you'll allow God to come in and be your strength. So here's how Paul answered that after he tried this. He said, I've been praying and praying and praying for you to get rid of this weakness because I want to be strong for you. And when God tells him, this is how you get it, my strength is made perfect in your weakness, he says, then I'm going to boast all the more in my weakness so that Christ's power can rest on me. I want Christ's power to rest on you. We don't want to do things wrong and call that a weakness. That's a choice. But if you really have something that is beyond your control and just is who you are, at the very core of who you are, God says, I know I created you. I love you just like you are. And then nobody's ever going to doubt that it's you doing it. They'll know it has to be me. So I invite you to love yourselves into this passage, that even in your weakness, God's there. Even when God says no, God's there. And if you will rest in that, if you will say, I am so weak, I cannot do what you're asking, he'll say, yes, now we can really get something accomplished. That's my challenge for you, is to find a weakness God is saying he wants to show his strength in, and let him do it. See you next time.